Hello folks, this is Jagos here, discussing a new topic. Recently, MCV UK had a story that activated my spider senses in regards to Activision. Now I'm not a doomsayer, and I don't want to bring about an apocalypse, but I have to wonder why Activision is going to Warner Brothers for advice on either gaming or money making. But let's look at the article and see what's going on. Ex-Warner Brothers CEO and Chairman Barry Meyer has accepted a position on Activision Blizzard's board of directors. Games Industry reports a publisher revealed the new addition to its leadership group yesterday, stating that Meyer has been appointed to the company's nominating and corporate governance committee as well. So let's take a look at Barry Meyer for a bit, shall we? As per the Variety article, this is a man that's had 42 years as an executive at Warner Brothers. Now let's think about this. The guy knows little about games, and he's coming into Activision Blizzard. In regards to his job, the last man standing was Kevin Sujihara. But what I'm interested in would be his managerial style, which he's aiming to bring to Activision. Quote, "To me, the mark of a great company is that in success you don't gloat, and in failure you don't panic," Meyer says. That's what it means to be a leader, especially in a business that is roiling with change right now. The rougher the seas, the greater the premium there is on staying steady at the helm. Let me translate that for you from CEO speak. Basically, don't rock the boat. Try to sit here and just keep your mouth shut, keep your head down, and good things will come for you. But the question is, how will this affect the workers? Eventually, the pairing of Meyer with Castle Rock alum Alan Horn as Warner Brothers' proxy COO made for a formidable team, launching the Harry Potter film franchise, among other initiatives. And Meyer, like Daly, has played an industry statesman role in public policy matters and labor relations with Hollywood unions. End quote. Now let's remember that Harry Potter got in trouble for Hollywood accounting, and while unions are around in Hollywood, they don't make up the bulk of the money in Hollywood. The lobbyists and the CEOs do, such as Chris Dodd. I digress. So my question starts here. What can this corporate culture teach or take from Activision? Let's go ahead and go into the history of Activision. Just a quick one. Let's remember that Activision was the world's first third-party software company, suing Atari and winning the ability for third-party developers to exist. They rewarded their employees with accreditation in the games and royalties that are now the norm in the gaming world, from Steam to in-house studios such as EA. However, in the 80s, they began to unravel as a company with poor management and heavy-handed tactics against their assets, being a cause for Bobby Kotick to be able to purchase the company. Now, for anyone that has heard of Bobby Kotick, you know that about how he wants to take the fun out of gaming, which he's done on numerous occasions, from driving the music genre into the ground with oversaturation to making numerous World War II Call of Duty games that were only stopped because of the modern Call of Duty games. The guy knows how to make gaming tedious and profitable for shareholders over the people that consume these games. But why am I talking about him? Well, if you notice anything out of place, you can see that there was a large row between Kotick and his employees, just like Activision and Atari in the 80s, where they basically fired people for the short-term profits of the Modern Warfare series while losing out on the talent that made the game great. Just store that in your mind for later. We'll get back to it. So let's go into the games. Now, personally, I've been a huge fan of Warcraft 3 for the visuals in RTS. StarCraft and Brood War were awesome, but you could not pay me to play Blizzard's most recent outings. World of Warcraft, it required a fee and hasn't moved beyond the Horde and Alliance, which I really wanted something else to do with. If you want my feelings on that, I'll put Mr. Beatong's words about how WoW ruined everything.
Part 1. An elaborate analogy. Let's turn the clock back to 1984, the rookie year of an obscure, little-known NBA player named Michael Jordan. Stay with me here, this is the analogy I was talking about. Michael Jordan was a great basketball player who also ruined basketball for a generation. It's not his fault. He didn't do it on purpose. He didn't mean to ruin basketball. But he did. Not because of what he did on the court, On the court, he did most everything right. He won 6 NBA titles, he led the league in scoring like 50 years in a row, he teamed up with Bugs Bunny and Dan Aykroyd to defeat the Monstars, and he was voted the league's most valuable player 5 times. But while he was doing all that, Michael Jordan the actual person dissolved into the ether and was replaced by Michael Jordan the Nike product. And when you're Michael Jordan the Nike product, just being good isn't good enough. You have to be a mythical figure. The mythical Jordan, the personality template against which all other athletes are judged. Anything less would have sold slightly fewer overpriced sneakers. Before Jordan, there were as many great player personalities as there were great players. You had the grace and thoughtful reserve of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the surly but somehow endearing arrogance of Larry Bird, and the infectious joy and daring of Magic Johnson. But afterwards, there was only one acceptable personality, the carefully packaged and deliberately commodified one of the mythical Jordan. Bland, uncontroversial, mostly humorless, hyper-competitive, hyper-focused. We, and by we I mean ESPN, even had to create an entire new language of obnoxious terms to describe this monster they'd created, and our entire conception of basketball and even of team sports in general was rewritten to accommodate it. Individual scoring was overvalued, efficient use of possessions was undervalued, and ball hogging in the fourth quarter went from vice to virtue. The mythical Jordan became the athletic equivalent of a Jungian archetype, a template we impose on ourselves and others without even realizing it. Whenever a star player loses the big game, we look for the ways in which he isn't Jordan enough, and whenever a star player who's never won the big game before finally wins it, we look for the ways in which he became more Jordan than he was before. This one template for competitive greatness became so ubiquitous that we almost forgot there were ever any others. Part 2. So are you just going to keep ranting about basketball, or... No, I'm going somewhere with this. Because now I'd like to talk about World of Warcraft, the Michael Jordan of Memorpagers. Like Jordan, WoW was very good at what it did. Like Jordan, it became a cultural phenomenon and captured the imaginations of a much wider audience than ever before. Like Jordan, it made a shit ton of money, and, like Michael Jordan, it ruined everything without even meaning to. To illustrate what I mean, let's fast forward to the present day. It's been more than 8 years since WoW ruined everything, and MMOs can be divided into 2 broad categories, the theme park and the sandbox. The theme park MMO is one with a comparatively high level of control and direction on the part of the developer. The player inhabits a world created by someone else, completes tasks designed by someone else, and mostly has the experience that the developer intends. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. Theme parks can be fun, and their more directed nature allows their creators to design entertaining set pieces and a more cohesive gameplay experience. The original example is EverQuest, but there are many, many others. There's been City of Heroes, Matrix Online, Warhammer Online, Age of Conan, Rift, The Old Republic, Terra, Guild Wars 2, the list goes on and on. All in all, a very well-represented genre. On the other end of the scale, you have the sandbox. Like the name implies, the sandbox-style MMO allows for more freedom and creativity, but also expects the players to provide their own direction. There's no shortage of sandbox MMOs these days either. You have EVE Online, you have, let's see, so there's EVE and... drawing a blank here. Jeez. I guess there's just EVE as far as major examples go. And EVE isn't even a great example. It's more like a high-sec theme park surrounded by an optional null-sec sandbox. Why is one type of MMO so much better represented than the other? I'll tell you why. Because World of Warcraft ruined everything.
Yes, subscribe to him. Where do you think I learned how to cite sources? Now back on topic. Diablo 3. The thought of an online auction and needing an always online connection turned me off. I paid $20 for Torchlight and found a game that did exactly what I wanted for a much cheaper price. Sure, they might have made money, but it sure wasn't going to be my money when I already paid them for the game, and they have nothing to really entice me to play online when I like to play single player. So that's the Blizzard aspects. What about Activision? Well, the COD crowd isn't necessarily my appeal, and looking at all of the games, it took some time for me to invest in Activision because of their habit to destroy series when they fall out of favor. Of course, EA does this too, but that's another video for another time. So as you can see, Activision brings about some very special aspects that have me worried about its future. It relies on heavy marketing of their games, maintains them for short-term profitability, and eventually throws away properties that don't make money. I won't even get into Blizzard and their fights with copyright and stifling the innovation that could help them progress, but just look up Blizzard and the first sale doctrine and you'll find them trying to do what makes them money but pisses off customers. Now, I set this up to show their history. Activision has a very bad habit of thinking short term since their boss thinks in the same manner. And now you have a Warner Brothers CEO that is on the board. Where do you think Activision is going to go in regards to their titles? I know that Activision has teamed up with Bungie to create Destiny, and by all accounts, the formula could work. But what would occur if Bungie enters into the fold of Activision? What would occur if Microsoft wants a majority stake with the company? Bungie may find their situation changed in the 10 years it holds an agreement with Activision, and a number of issues could pop up. These are questions that I'm wondering as I look into Activision and find myself amazed at how it is repeating some of the mistakes of Atari in the 80s. That's why it's important to wonder about Activision now. Just recently, a CEO is standing to make more than $1.25 million a year by the name of Thomas Tipple. Now notice the immense pressure on Tipple to succeed. Quote, thirdly, Tipple will receive $6 million worth of Activision Blizzard shares on February 10th, as well as 3 separate performance vesting share units. These units, valued at millions of dollars each, are contingent upon Activision Blizzard meeting or exceeding non-GAAP earnings per share objectives. But let's go back in history to Infinity Ward. Jason West and Vince Zampella, the CTO, CEO, and other acronyms of worth, were terminated from the position thanks to Activision coveting their ability to make money on their franchise and creating one of the first billion-dollar franchises with Modern Warfare. Instead of giving them their bonuses, they gave them a pink slip. So the workers got the shaft for the work done, but a CEO gets special treatment. Now just think about that for a minute. Does anyone else notice the tension this could cause? For West and Zampella, this more or less became their incentive to create Titanfall, which looks to upend the dominance of Modern Warfare. Even now, Warcraft continues to lose people to other MMOs while stagnating. StarCraft is running strong due to the tourney scene, but Call of Duty Ghost was a major disappointment. And now you have Titanfall, which can be looked at through Miles923 and his quote-unquote impressions, since he's under NDA, which are linked below. With the information showed above, my conclusions can be drawn. Activision is setting itself up for a major fall, just like the competition's name indicate. Their games are stagnating. They have a number of short-sighted goals instead of working to produce various different games for various different markets. They work to run their games into the ground, and the structure is such that they reward CEOs over their workers, which can only raise the hackles of the people there. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see the Activision side of things ending well for the next few years, should they continue these short-sighted paths. But what do you think? Am I off my rocker? Is this observation out of nowhere, or is there some basis to this analysis? Let me know, and I'll see you next time.